Hello everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and our weekly look back at the CBSI Hot Top 10 from 6 months ago. This week we're looking back at the Hot Top 10 from November 2nd, 2018, and I'm recording this on May 2nd, 2019. As always, this look back is really just to try to understand what books were hot, what made them hot, why they have stayed hot or dropped back, and hopefully help us all make better decisions as we speculate or do whatever and collect using this kind of information. So with that, let's get into the list. The first book on the list is Captain America, Volume 7, number 25. And this is the first appearance of Sam Wilson as Captain America. And what made this book hit the list at number 10 was speculation that he was going to be the new Captain America in the MCU. That with Chris Evans' contract up, that's where they were going to go for Captain America. So those were the rumors back in the fall, and that's why this book jumped from basically a $1 bin book to a $10 book. I can't give you any information about this book without giving in-game spoilers. So what I'm going to do is when you see, like, fast forward about a minute or so, but, and I may try to put, just fast forward a minute or so till you see the Daredevil book, which is number 9, come up and this book go away, and you won't get any spoilers as to what's going on with this book. Otherwise, if you're okay with spoilers, I will continue with the description of what's going on with this book, starting now. Okay, so if you've seen Endgame, you know that Cap does give Sam the shield. So most likely he is going to be Captain America either in the TV show or in future movies. So right now, this book is now a $15 to $25 book. It has jumped again. It was still going for about that $10 to $15 range even before the movie came out. But now that the movie came out, it's a $15, $25 book raw. CGC, there's only been one recent 9.8 and it went for $230. There's been one recent 9.6. It went for around $100. But this is a book that's probably gonna continue to spike here for a little bit because of what happened in Endgame. With that, let's move on to number 9 on the list. And number 9 is Daredevil, number 610. And this was the lead up to the death of Daredevil. And then this issue, they introduced a new villain, Vigil. And everybody, the thought was Vigil was going to play a major role in Daredevil's death. I've been reading Daredevil. I don't know exactly what happened, but I know that he has died and is already back. So whatever happened didn't really stick. So then Vigil, this first appearance of Vigil was a $10+ book right out of the gate. Now it's a $5 to $15 book. So they're still, in that $10 range. But 9.8, interestingly, and we'll see this a couple times in this list, they've been going for basically what raw copies are, or just slightly more. There's been 9.8 sales of 17, 26, and 40, all plus shipping. But yeah, that's pretty cheap for a slab 9.8 of any book, let alone a first appearance. But so that is Daredevil number 610. With that, we're going to move on to number 8 on the list. And at number 8, we have Batwoman, number 17. The black and white 1 in 25 variant. And this is just really a cool cover. It's hard to find 1 in 25. And it's a cover that people like. Batwoman's not like a high print run book. So 1 in 25s are pretty uncommon for it. And so it's hard to find. People like it. That's what's really driving this. Basically, then they were saying a 9.8 jumped up and went for $160. The actual most recent 9.8 sale is $177. That was a 9.6. 9.6 sale was for $177. So even more than that 9.8 back in the fall. This book is consistently going for $30 to $60 when it does sale, but there was only, I think, 3 sales listed on eBay in the last 3 months. There's about 4 to 5 books listed raw, and they are all in the they're all in the $55 to $75 range listings. Okay, I totally screwed up. that 9.6 that's 177 is a listing. It is not a sale. So there have not been any sales since that one in the fall that went for 160. That was my mistake. So they are asking 177 for 9.6 right now. That's the only slab copy currently on eBay. So this is really just a relatively hard to find book and a cover that people like. Nothing else is really driving the value on this one, but they are getting sales in that $30 to $60 range for raw copies. With that, we'll move on to number 7. Number 7 on the list is Planetary number 1. And this was basically driven completely by rumors that they was going to be optioned. That has not to date come true. So basically, back in the fall, when it was rumors it was going to option, 9.8 jumped from 125 to 200 to 325 in a very short period of time. I can tell you, like, almost immediately after that, the next 2 9.8 sales jumped back down to 200. It basically stayed in that $200 range. There's been like 4 or 5 sales of 9.8 since then. Stayed around $200, and then nothing for a couple months, and then the most recent one was back down to $100. And raw copies of this are basically $3 to $10. This is a book that, because the option news didn't happen, has returned to where it was prior to any of the rumors and speculation. So that was Planetary number 1 at number 7 on our list. Number 6 on our list, we have Ice Cream Man number 8, the Dale Ray variant. And this was just a cool, creepy cover of a fairly popular indie series. Sorry, the cat went running through the room. And people just really like this cover right off the bat. This variant was going for $10 to $15. It's still going for basically $10 almost really consistently, but occasionally a little more. People are asking that 15 or a little more for it typically, but it's really only selling for about 10. I can only find one 9.8 sale since it's been out. That went for $55. And I didn't even really see any other slabs listed. So that is Ice Cream Man number 8. Just kind of a cool cover that people like. And number 5 on the list, and here comes the cat. I was wondering when she was going to make an appearance. Are you just going to lay there? All right, you're not bothering anything. So, number 5 on the list is Harley Quinn number 42. It is the first appearance of Old Lady Harley. And basically this spiked when the new series started, the Old Lady Harley series started. Back then it was going for $20 for raw copies. Now those raw copies, that series has come and gone. There are no plans, at least announced so far, for DC to return to the Old Lady Harley universe or future or whatever to do any continuations. I'm sure at some point they probably will, but nothing has been announced. So this book has dropped back to a $5 to $10 book. Although listings again are more in the $15 to $20 range. 9.8 have been going. There's been 4 sales. I didn't write down the number, but it's not very many of 9.8. And basically the average is about $80. They're going anywhere from 65 to 95, 99, but I think 3 of them are right around $80. So that is Old Lady Harley, or Harley Quinn number 42, the first appearance of Old Lady Harley. It's one of those, I think it's probably just going to kind of sit in this $5 to $10 to $15 range, unless DC decides to do something with that universe, or that version of the universe. In which case it might bump again, but for now it's pretty easily to track down. And number 4 on the list is Spider Force number 1, the Benjamin 1 in 50 variant. This is basically a 1 in 50 of a fairly high print book, but a cool cover that people liked. There were rumors that there were going to be 2 first appearances. There were 2 first appearances. Astro Spider and Spider Kid. As a result, this 1 in 50 was going for $75 right off the bat. If you've read, I read Spider-Geddon, although I didn't read the Spider Force tie-in. I didn't even know there was an Astro Spider or a Spider Kid. They haven't done anything with those two characters. That event has come and gone. Those don't appear to be characters that have caught on or are going to be anything in the future necessarily. So it went from a $75 book back then. Now it's a $40 to $45 book, which is slightly under ratio. I think that's mostly just being driven by the people like the cover. Although there's not a ton of sales for this. Listings are all 45 plus. Some of them are like 90. People not necessarily realistic, but the ones that are actually moving are all in that 45 range or a little lower. Interestingly enough, the most recent 9.8 sale was also for $45. This is where I talked about there's been some bargains recently related to 9.8s on some of these books. This one here, there's only been two 9.8 sales that I could find. One was 45, one was 81. So you could buy a raw copy. That guy got a slab copy for what people are paying for raw copies. But so that is Spider Force number 1. Next up is number 3 on the list is Thanos 11. And basically this was spec on the first appearance of the Fallen One. And so this book jumped from basically a $5 book to a $20 book. Or maybe even a $1 bin book to a $20 book. Since it has fallen back, there hasn't really been anything related to the Fallen One. I think there was thought that the Fallen One might be the one below all and Immortal Hulk. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure exactly what the spec was on the Fallen One, I'll be perfectly honest. But anyway, or maybe they thought the Fallen One was going to appear in the MCU. I don't know what was going on there. But now it's a $10 to $20 book, so there are still people paying close to $20 for this book, but for the most part, it's a $10 book. I can only find one recent 9.8. That went for $200, but I really didn't even see any real listings of slab copies of this book. So that is Thanos number 11, first appearance of the Fallen One. Next up on the list is number 2. At number 2 is Young Avengers number 1. And this is the first appearance of Kate Bishop. And this spec was all being driven by the in-game trailer that showed the girl with dark hair shooting a bow with Hawkeye. As you all know, that's his daughter. People thought that was also going to be Kate Bishop. So this book jumped to $30 plus. If you've seen Endgame, I guess spoilers again until this cover goes down as well. So when you see the number 1 book pop up, you'll be safe if you want to fast forward again. But so spoilers for that. It was Hawkeye's daughter, but she was not named Kate, and she was shooting a bow, but so no indication that she's Kate Bishop or they're going to make her into that universe's version of Kate Bishop. I think they called her Lila in the movie. Having said that, though, this book is still going for $30 to $40 raw, and people are asking $40 to $50, and I think it's just because with the results of Endgame, people are still specking that the Young Avengers are going to come. They still think you might get a Kate Bishop in the future. So this book is still moving strong. Basically, like, yeah, for 9 point, so that's raw copies are still, like I said, 30 to 40, asking 40 to 50. 9.8, since the 1st of April, there's been a bunch of sales of 9.8 to this book, and they have been everywhere from 200 to 350, and just everywhere in between. They've been all over the board in the 200s, in the low 300s. People are chasing this book, and still thinking that Kate is going to show up at some point. Current listings have for 9.8, the lowest ones are 350, but recent sales have been in the 200 range. So you're going to have to search if you really want this book. This might not be the best time to go after the Young Avengers, but should they announce the Young Avengers in Phase 4, then it might jump again. So I think just kind of wait till maybe people forget about this one a little bit, or there's no real MCU news for a while, and then you might get a little better deal on this one if you really want it. So that was Young Avengers number 1. And then at the number 1 spot, we have our returning champion from last week, Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider, number 1, the 1 in 100, as we talked about last week. So when we talked about last week, it was his first week of release. It was already going for $250. By the second week after release, it was going for $600 raw. As we said before, it's still going in that $450 plus range for raw copies. 9.8 is still going for $8 to $850. And this is really just being driven by a cover people love on a book that's hard to find and get. So yeah, it's a gorgeous cover. I talked about last week, if you wanted to track it down, you might try to track down like the Mexican version, because it's way, way, way cheaper. But yeah, this is just a cover that people love, and the demand is still high for it, and I don't see it going down anytime soon. I think this book is always going to have pretty high value, just because of this cover. So, with that was this week's list. Had a few spec books that didn't pan out, some hot covers, a couple of books related to Endgame, and with that, we're going to call it a week. Thanks for watching, everybody.